It is time to stand up and say, never again will we accept being locked down. Remember that first lockdown? I kind of got it. There was this new problem coming. Milan was in crisis. They declared an emergency, although we didn't stop the planes, but we then locked down the country. I got it. Was it flu style 1919? But the second lockdown and the absolutely monstrous, lengthy third lockdown, I was again it. And think where we are now. Think of the economic damage it did. Think of the psychological damage it did. Think of actually what it's done to the work culture in our country. And now look at the excess death figures. And it's scary because actually Florida and Sweden, who did not lock down, are coming out far better in the long run. Well, here goes. No one's told you this before. They should have done. The World Health Organization, a subset of the United Nations, run by a man called Mr. Tedros, who was only put there because the Chinese wanted him there. Now, what did he do? Well, at the start of the pandemic, he said, this all comes from the wet markets in Wuhan. It's nothing to do with a lab leak whatsoever. And don't worry, because it can't be transmitted human to human. I mean, the global organization that we rely upon for best practice, for sharing information, got everything completely and utterly wrong. Well, now, believe it or not, in 2 weeks' time, there'll be a meeting in Geneva of the World Health Organization, and 194 countries will be in the room. And they want us to sign a global pandemic treaty. Now, Boris Johnson signed us up to the first phase of this back in 2021 in the depths of the COVID crisis. This, folks, is what it means. It would give the unelected bureaucrats of the World Health Organization the ability to take 20% of our PPE, 20% of our vaccines or cures of any kind. It would give them the ability to tell us to wear masks, them the ability to tell us we must be jabbed, probably repeatedly, before we could even get on an aeroplane and travel to another country. But the big one, it would give them the right to declare a global pandemic and tell us to lock down. Now, it's bad enough when British politicians do things like this, but at least we can call them to account. At least they have to appear before the media, and ultimately we can choose not to vote for them. This is a massive transfer of power from our elected House of Commons to a globalist organisation. Memories of Brexit? Yes, it's pretty much the same logic. I mean, what was the point of Brexit if we're going to give away incredible powers? The government and the opposition in Britain today do not even want this to be discussed. And so bad is it that over 100,000 people signed a petition to say, we want to have a debate in Parliament on this. And guess what? The Petitions Committee threw it out, and the government said their stance on the WHO hasn't changed. They want us to remain members. Well, what I'm saying is this. Let's get the WHO back to first principles, which is a forum where we can share information, share best practice, as opposed to giving it power itself. We should threaten to withdraw our money. We should threaten to leave it. We should try and attempt to reform it. If we can't reform it, well, then it's simple. Rather like the European Union, we just have to leave. There has been no debate in Parliament on this, yet it's coming in 2 weeks' time. And that's why I'm happy to front Action on World Health. Have a look at the website. If you agree with me, sign up with us. In a few days' time, I'll also be launching a national petition. I want to get hundreds of thousands of signatures. This cannot be allowed to pass without a debate, a vote in Parliament, and a big public discussion. If you're Brexiteers, I'd have thought you must, heart and soul, be with me. And even if you're not, I mean, goodness me, shouldn't we ourselves decide our own health policy and learn the lessons that Florida and Sweden did way better than we did, and that more lockdowns in the future, for whatever may or may not be a pandemic, simply isn't the answer. This is a corrupt, globalist institution taking up too much of our money, spending most of it on ourselves, making bad decisions, and dominated by the Chinese Communist Party. Let's fight this. Let's get a debate in our country. Time is short. Only a fortnight to go. Do you know what, folks? This is a battle we're going to win.